Okay, so that was a whole pile, it was a whole bushel of fun. Tuesday, July 7th, 2020. So the commissioners of Costilla County had met on Zoom, and so we just had a government meeting. They meet on the first and third Tuesday of every month. And so Stephen Romero comes in after his victory. There's a special session that was July 1st, so 6 days ago, but he comes in for the next 6 months. He'll be able to establish himself, and then January 1st, 2020, you're going to see Robert Espinoza get in there. Now, there's a lot of interesting things. One thing in particular I want to, focus on was Louis Madrill. Louis Madrill, his family's lived in the San Luis Valley, since the founding. They've been here the whole time, and yet he is in agreement with me. I kind of keyed him up when it came to the public comment. We were only supposed to have 3 minutes, but Louis Madrill had a fantastic filibuster where he just kept his issue. This is the problem. Why don't you fix it? And he was very good at that. So I want to get, back to that. But let's just talk about a few things. The director, the public health director, I don't know who she is, but she got to talk for a long time, Rhonda Labato. She got to talk for a long time, Rhonda Labato and Louis Madrill, and me for half the time on Zoom. Now, Zoom is fantastic. It was awesome. So for Louis Madrill and Rhonda Labato, both were on camera, on video, so you got to see their faces. You got to hear and see their faces while they talk. That's not necessary for, a government meeting to progress, but it does show, I think, God, this is the future. This is fantastic. That's why I think Zoom is awesome. Zoom is awesome. You get to, say your piece. You don't have to drive here, drive there, dress anyway, do your hair, what have you. I mean, maybe you should do that, but ultimately the business of government isn't about what you look like. The business of government has to do with, passing laws and budget and what have you. So right now I'm out here, the Rio Grande Ranchos by the Labato Bridge, Costilla County. It's getting very windy. You have these sudden gusts of wind. Just happens all the time. I don't want to say they're tornado, but they're tornado-like. I haven't seen a tornado yet, but I have seen the wind, it's very persistent. It's very tenacious, very relentless. So it always gets me nervous whenever the wind picks up like this because, I've had pieces of my house fall over, which sucks. I have to, undo it all and rebuild it. But anyways, so this is just the elements, right? This is just the many things that people in Costilla County have to endure. There's a lot of elements. The elements are a constant problem. So, okay. Madrill, Louis Madrill. Fantastic filibuster. Awesome filibuster. Okay, so what else? You have Blanca RV. Blanca RV hasn't paid their taxes for 2015 to 2016. They only owe like $600, $621, $623. But Blanca RV has not paid they have, renters, so the renters probably pay that in a month's time, and yet in 2015, 2016, they did not pay their taxes. Silver Sage Steakhouse, they also owed $440 in taxes. Now, Rhonda Labato got up there, and I'll be honest, it sounded like a bunch of Greek to me. Now, she said she's the assessor. So the assessor of Costilla County, the one that, had the video on her face, so she's real, she's honest. She sounded like she was actually on the side of Louis Madrill. Now, she did a report where, there's $600 million actual value, and then the appeals is less. Did you hear that? Something just banged out there. So I'm hoping it's just a board flopping around, right? But she processed 96 abatements, 19, so far, 6 more. I don't know what the 600 million extra. So there's 47,000 parcels of land in Costilla County, 33,400 out-of-state property owners. So that's, incredible. That means most of the land in Costilla County that's owned isn't owned by anybody in Costilla County. They're owned by people out of state. So that's not your off-gridders. Those are your absentee landlords. And then out of state, how many are out of country? How many are out of America? How many are, of these property owners, these absentee landlords that aren't even in America? They're in, China or Europe or Africa or where have you. I would love to know that number. So, yeah, Rhonda Lobato, she gets up there, talks about $9 million actual value, $1 million assessed. There's 162 accounts. I don't know what the fuck she's talking about, but, yeah, there you go. Somebody was talking about Protect Our Neighbor program. We need a work session moving into the Protect Our Neighbor program by December, cognizant of what's going on in the community. I think it is the director of the public health, because she got to talk for several times. So the director of public health, I want to believe that it's her, because who knows, when it comes to the voices, it's not always clear. But it sounded like she first asked for some kind of grant. 2 yeses, 1 said no. So then she announces her retirement. And that was huge. That was like, what's going on? Something actually happened. Oh my God, something's happening right now. So she got a grant approved, and then somebody mentioned afterwards to not micromanage public health, and so apparently somebody said no for some micromanaging reason. Protect Our Neighbor program, I don't know, but the director of public health, she's been in there for 31 years. She says December 31st, 2020 is time to go into a new direction, and that's exactly what's going to happen with Costilla County, because Lawrence Pacheco is going to step down. Lawrence Pacheco is stepping down the same time that the public health director is stepping down. And actually, that takes courage, right? Lawrence Pacheco came in 1 term and then didn't run and get right, so allowed it to be an open seat, allowed new blood to get in there, new ideas. And so, yeah, Lawrence Pacheco was all about job creation when I called him 2 years ago. But she read a letter, and it was very heartfelt, and they seemed to, be sad that she's leaving. And Steve Romero says, move to deny. He made a joke. I'd like to move to deny your retirement, but she's going to be retired. She's getting the hell up out of Dodge. Says, then Stephen Romero says, have that, scratched from the record. And then Stephen Romero, says that perhaps the old director could help find a new director because they need to fill that position, and that they were sad to see her go. So the director of public health went on and on about, COVID-19. The 4th of July, they're expecting a spike because of the 4th of July festivities. 2 were active COVID-19 cases. 20 were in-house, so 22 confirmed cases. 1 hospitalized, and they were released yesterday. So in Costilla County, Colorado, it's a downhill trend in how many cases you have for the COVID-19. And so Stephen Romero is the chair. The meeting lasts from 10 a.m. to past noon, and they went into executive session, and typically you got to come back out and say, okay, we made this decision, and then you adjourn. But with the Zoom session, it kind of, I don't know, it skipped out one time. It did pretty well with the video, which I was shocked for about an hour. My video worked, in the middle of nowhere. My 4G video. So, and that was the second time they went into executive session. The first time they went into executive session was all about this Louis Madrill. So, are y'all ready? Are we ready to talk about what Louis Madrill was talking about? There's, the people that was in the meeting, there were several people in the meeting. Ben Dune, I think Ben Dune runs the meeting. Najandine, I think she was there. That would be the clerk, recorder county, whatever, Chris Rodriguez, Vivian Gallegos. I saw an Amber Mastis first showed up, and then and then she wasn't there no more. So I don't know on Zoom if I could see everybody that's watching or listening or paying attention. Lawrence Pacheco was there. Stephen Romero was there. Gallegos, I guess, was the other guy, the other commissioner. They were all there at the very beginning. They all were, present. City attorney was there. The administrative officer was there. So Romero, Pacheco, Gallegos, all of them were there. I think the city attorney began, or maybe Ben Dune. Ben Dune began talking about there's a lawsuit over water issues. Water is a big commodity in, the San Luis Valley. It's a desert. It's a cold, windy desert. Water is the elixir of life. We need water to just live. Water should be a human right. So I wonder what that lawsuit over water issues is all about. Because that's the first thing. Sorry, I'm late. I have to, a heated conversation over a lawsuit about water issues. So I think that was Ben Dune. I think he's the administrator. I'm not sure who the attorney or who their positions are or what have you. All right. Lobato, Mr. Lobato was there too. So, what are we talking about? What are we talking about here? Okay, so in Costilla County, you got planning and zoning, and they have all these designations. Now, this guy's got an estate residential piece of property. Now, on a state residential, you can't have a shipping container, a Comex container, a shipping container, one of those, train metal containers. Now, he wants to save his stuff. Get a metal container. Nobody's going to break into it, right? That's a solid metal container. That's a very safe structure. Now, in 2017, Costilla County, they had passed a law, and I thought that this was kind of ridiculous because they said that it was okay for big farmers, for farms that's like, 50 acres, 40 acres, 30 acres or some shit. If it's zoned agriculture, then you're allowed to have a shipping container. You're allowed to have a shipping container, a Comex container, if it was zoned agriculture. So Louis Madrill has this estate residential property, and he wants to put a shipping container on it, and yet, they're telling him that he's not allowed to. Now, he's got one little curveball. Now, it's zoned estate residential, but there's 2.5 acres. That's commercial property. There's a commercial building on it. He pays commercial taxes. And so if there's a commercial building, therefore the land underneath must be commercial too. So he wants the commercial land to put the Comex container, shipping container on the corner of his property that is commercial. Now, there's a state residential, that's one designation. Now, I'm not for sure exactly, so that 2017 law allowed agriculture, farms to have shipping containers, but I think industry, commercial, businesses, and agriculture, all those, just not residential properties. Residential properties cannot have shipping containers, whether you got 1, 5, 10, 20, whatever acreage you have. If it's a state residential, you cannot get a shipping container. Now, I remember this law because I was, thinking, well, shit, that means there's, great for the farmers that they get to have their shipping containers. And the whole point, the essence of the law, I believe, is that people are moving into the shipping containers. They're getting the shipping containers to come out there, and then they're sleeping in the shipping containers, and they're about, freezing themselves to death. So that's the, concern for the people's lives and well-being, but it also feels like it's a tax against the estate residential people. So it made me think, great for the farmers, great for agriculture. They got some people that, they got power, but how come everybody can't have a shipping container? What the hell is the problem with the shipping container? Why can just the farmers and the, industry and commercial have shipping containers? So Louis Madrill, he's not trying to change the state residential to commercial. He's not trying to change his property. He's not trying to have a zoning change. He's just getting the county to acknowledge that he has a corner of his property. The building is commercial. He pays commercial taxes. And so if they went ahead and estate residential over a commercial building, I guess which came first, right? The chicken or the egg? Now, Rhonda Lobato had, she had spoke up, and it sounded like, she's just giving information, but it sounded like she was kind of saying, this is what he went through. His petition was denied, And so he went straight to the county. I think the process is you go to the assessor, the planning and zoning, and then it goes to the Board of Equalization. There's an intermediate, there's a middle board, and then it goes to the Board of Commissioners. Well, you're going to hear Lawrence Pacheco come back out, and he says, well, judicially, we have to be the judges on this board, and so we're not supposed to get any information, so we're totally fair. And so he's kind of shutting them out, and they're shutting them up and saying, you shouldn't address this issue here. But guess what? Louis Madrill kept on progressing. He's like, we got an epidemic of crime around here. I had mentioned that if you don't patrol all of Costilla County, because everybody's entitled to EMS, police, and fire. And so if you don't patrol everybody, if you're going to say, you know what, to hell with them off-grid assholes, you know what, who gives a goddamn flying fuck about the San Luis Valley ranches near Blanca or them Rio Grande ranchos? Who gives a fuck about the Rio Grande ranchos next to the Levada Bridge? If you take that position, I think you're probably racist, right? But also, more importantly, you're allowing, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. You're going to say, hey, those immigrants are bringing in, crime and drugs and rapists, so just reverse Donald Trump, right? And they're American immigrants, but those new people are, there are logical, they're putting a strain on social services, and they're taking the jobs and, what have you. So that needs to be addressed. I think whereas the off-gridder, both the community and the off-gridder need to make each other run through the gauntlet. Okay, you want to make sure that the off-gridder is on the up and up. Well, I want to make sure that the community is on the up and up too. And so, therefore, it seems like, both the community and the off-gridder just need to have better communication, talk to each other. Because you want the good people to come here, and if you say, we're not going to give that area police protection, and then crime runs rampant, then what have you done? You did that. That was you. You did that. If you stop the criminals, nip that shit in the bud, then you get good, peaceful people to come in here, and crime is not part of the culture. You got poverty, you got crime, a lot of desperate people around here. And desperate, people do desperate things. So I'm all in favor of Louis Madrill getting his shipping container on his property. He says he's got a 5-bedroom house. He's not going to move in. He don't give a fuck about moving in. He says he's been broken into. There's an epidemic of crime around here. Everybody's getting broken into. He says he's got $10,000 worth of tools that was stolen from him, and that's going to take years to replace, to get all those tools from all those different areas. And so, that's a big lick. That's a big fine for, the local criminal class. So the local government class needs to confront the local criminal class, assuming they're not in bed with each other, right? So let's hope, let's just, have faith that that's not the case. So he's saying he don't want to live in it. He wants to do it for security, to protect his property, to protect his tools, to protect his things. And so the lawyer for the, county, whatever his name is, kept on chiming in, and basically they're just kind of bullshitting him and kind of saying, you got to go this way, you got to go that way. And then eventually they told him he was supposed to call Tara, and then he was supposed to do this or do that. And so I think they'll probably help him. In 2 weeks, the guy will probably get what he, wanted, but he didn't get what he wanted this moment in time. So for about, 30 minutes, we got to hear Louis Madrill just kind of say, look, we got good, we're lawful, we're following the rules, but you're making it impossible to follow the rules. So how are we supposed to, we want to live here, by the rules, but you won't allow us to live. So how are we supposed to, follow these impossible, nobody seems like they're on the same page. Romero says, Commissioner Romero, he says that it seems like, we need to get, our shit together too, paraphrased. But just so that they're on the same page and they know the process and they know, sort of what's going on. I disagree with Lawrence Pacheco. Yeah, you're supposed to get no information. No, the more information you get, the better, the more you'll actually understand the whole situation. If you don't get the information from the person, that's petitioning until the very end, well, you've already known, everybody else's, side except for the petitioners, and that stacks the deck against the petitioner. So, yeah, it's a great filibuster. He says he sees these COMEX containers pop up all the time. There's a bunch of them around here. There's one over there, one over here, one over there. I mean, I guess if they're already here, you can't really say nothing. And he was like, God, I petitioned it, and he probably could have just moved the damn thing out there, and then nobody would have said nothing anyways. But because he went through them, and I think it's like a $500 petition, so you got to apply $500. I don't know how they did that. If they just, charged him $25 for the application, or if they actually charged him $500, because they do something. They do something like they don't give a petition out. They just say thank you for your application. So you're allowed to do it. They got the application, but they, instead of giving you a permit and then revoking it, they just want to say we're going to reject your application. So the lawyer was talking about you got to do some variance, a zone change, an abatement petition. You got to go through some other direction. And so, Sunny Days was the previous owner. Apparently some solar company was here, and now they're gone. So, that sucks, but they might have some sort of lawsuit or some shit. So Louis Madrill bought the property, I don't know from whoever, but Sunny Days used to own it before him. They go into executive session in the middle of the meeting. At first, they couldn't do a breakout session because they didn't know how to, do Zoom. But then they was like, hey, somebody said, we do know how to do Zoom. And so, yeah, the 2017 Resolution 9, that allowed agricultural zone districts. Law-abiding citizens. He's like, you got all these roads, the elements, basically everything is against us. The government's supposed to be for the people. Why are you on the side of the thieves and the criminals? They are robbing Louis Madrill. He's putting his money into this community, and, he seems to, I don't know if he's got money, he had property in Alamosa, but he could be a man that creates jobs or start a small business. The majority of your job creation comes from small businesses. So you got to have, work or die or small businesses. You got to have that's the only way we can live around here, which is why I believe that we should, the government should be involved with job creation. Absolutely, 100%. They should do job creation. They can't, according to Steve Romero, they can't do, run a business and just make profit off a business, which I disagree with, but those are the parameters, right? So I believe there's job creation ideas that you could do without, creating an enterprise, without creating a corporation. So, yeah, that was the Costilla County, July 7th, 2020, Tuesday meeting. 10 a.m. in the morning, past noon to almost 1 o'clock. It went on and on. Somebody talked at the end, but I was just... another thing about the Zoom is if you get tired, you can just lay down, right? So you can listen to what's going on and, pay attention to the matters that the county talks about. These are the things we're talking. What about the things we're actually going through? Do we actually talk about the problems of the county, or do we just, anyways? So the assessor, Rhonda, she seemed like she knew what she was talking about. I'm not for sure. Like I said, it was Greek, and then she also seemed supportive of Mr. Louis Madrill. So again, I hope that Louis Madrill, gets... the county commissioners, I'll say this to end this off. So Louis Madrill, they, for his security, everybody needs security. Food, water, clothing, shelter, security. That's Maslow's hierarchy, 101. Jesus Christ, that was what, 1954? So everybody knows that we all need, food, water, clothing, shelter, security. These are basic elements that every human being needs in order to live. And so Louis Madrill, the county commissioners, Lawrence Pacheco, no man likes to be confronted. Every man would be a tyrant if you let him. And so he was like, oh, we can't do this now. This is, not inconsistent with, their process. But Louis Madrill's right that ultimately it goes to the county commissioners, no matter who and what, whatever kind of abatement petition, the Board of Equalizers, wherever you send this thing, that eventually the county commissioners have the final say-so. They have the final say-so over the thing. So it's very smart for Louis Madrill to get himself out there and tell them exactly what's happening and what's going on. And it would have been awesome if the county would have just said, okay, Louis Madrill, you get your, shipping container. Now come in and pay your $500, for the petition. If he hasn't already paid for the damn thing. He wants to, protect his things, protect his property. If the police aren't going to protect his property, then he's got to protect his property. But if he's not allowed to protect his property, well, then he'll just have to take his property and go somewhere else. So once again, where the angels are going to leave and the criminals are running roughshod, the criminals and the thieves and the goddamn bandits, $10,000. He says everybody he knows has gotten broken into. So that seems like, I don't know where Louis Madrill is, in Costilla County, but he's saying everybody has gotten broken into where he is at. That's awful. That's freaking terrible. So, I mean, are we going to what? Chama? Is he in Chama or San Pablo, San Pedro? We're not going to, give San Pedro police coverage. San Francisco, Santa Casio, they get EMS and fire coverage just like Blanco and San Luis do. So we should cover all the villages. Rio Grande Ranchos, Garcia, La Valley, Fort Garland, San Luis Valley Ranches near Blanca, Jarosa, Mesita, Chama. All the smaller villages. We got to take care of Costilla County. The county court should give a goddamn fuck. In fact, their jurisdiction is the unincorporated areas of the county. They have very little say-so in Blanca and San Luis. So it's kind of crazy, actually, the capital's in San Luis. They should take the capital and put it in Mesita or Jarosa, or, the San Luis Valley Ranches. Make it more of the center of the county instead of, San Luis. They got their own government. They got their own police. They got a town, government. So I think it was very smart for Louis Madrill. I think it would have been for him to speak up to the county commissioners, and I think it would have been very good politics, and it would have been smart, and it would have been great for the county commissioners to actually listen to one of their constituents. If that's all the people that I could tell that was on the line, that means only 10 people or less was a part of the, county court. So the 10 people or less, you got a good man going through the process saying, hey, can you work with me? Stephen Romero says, yes, our will is to get this resolved. Our will is to, get what you want, essentially. But, clearly there's a snag, right? There's a fly in the ointment. So I think the county commissioners missed a big opportunity right there. Commissioner Gallegos, Commissioner Pacheco, and Commissioner Romero, they could have just said, yeah, go ahead, build your goddamn shipping container. That's no problem. And then they could have done it. And then he could have, got his stuff, get some security. Now he could start building. But can he start building? Can he do the things that he wants to do? How much longer does he have to wait? Perhaps maybe 2 more weeks? I don't know, but I feel like people can only tolerate so much. Once it becomes intolerable, then I bet you're not going to see Louis Madrill, living around here anymore. And what happened to Sunny Days, and what happened to, the fudge? So there's a fudge company, right? There's a guy that was making fudge out of Blanca. What happened to that guy? So if it's just about getting private industry, getting private business in here to create, well, then we need to have a culture that's conducive to allow small businesses to thrive. There's a ton of American dreams that have died. There's lots of burnt-up houses. There are people, there are criminals, there are bandits. There's a culture of criminality. And it's probably why, Robert Espinoza was elected. He's not scapegoating, bullshit. He's actually got the solutions to the problems. So I don't want to wait 6 months until Robert Espinoza gets in there until, basically common sense returns to Costilla County. So that's what happened with the government meeting, and hopefully Louis Madrill, hopefully Louis Madrill gets what he wants. I don't know why they have the restriction on those shipping containers. Those things have got to be expensive. If you could put one there, you don't want people dying in the damn thing, but if you're actually protecting people, then, if it's for just property and property only, then I don't see what the goddamn problem is, frankly. You want to put money into the county? You want to have a place to store your property so that nobody, steals your shit? Good. Thank you. Thank you. Maybe more people should do that, and then the crime would go down because everybody's property is protected. So I feel like a state residential should be allowed to have shipping containers. I think that's a dumb restriction. It was the law, good for the farmers that they got the shipping container, that they can have it on their property, but nobody else can, or none of the estate residential people. They have 5 acres. I mean, they got, the space to do it. You want people to clean their shit up. You want people to have, not only does it give them security, but it gives them space to clean their shit up so they can put all the stuff right in there. So now you got to, it beautifies it. It's invested in the community. It's adding to security. Why would you be against something like that? just to hate the off-grid assholes. Oh, you know, most of the off-gridders aren't assholes. Most of the off-gridders are good, honest, you know, family people, individuals that want to do good, that's trying to get a piece of the pie for themselves, get a good job, and just want, you know, some peace and quiet. And, yeah, so the majority of off-gridders are great, wonderful, fantastic people.